Good morning, a very chilly welcome to day 4, round 2 of the Sprott Tournament of Champions 2026, presented by Grassroots. It's a platinum event on the PSA Squash Tour, the start of 2026, but all part of the 2025-2026 season. We're here at Grand Central Terminal alongside me, Nicole Bunyan and Vanessa Atkinson. It is snowing buckets out there. It's minus 10 degrees locally here. This is just the view outside the doors when you walk outside Grand Central Terminal. Nicole, you've made your way through this snow this morning to get to us.
I did. I trekked far and wide to get here, all the way to the 7 train, which was delayed. It skipped my stop a couple of times, but eventually I did make it in. It is really cold though. My face froze off pretty much.
Vanessa, have you braved the cold yet?
I haven't. If I hadn't seen those pictures, I wouldn't even know that it's snowing. Thankfully, we don't have to go outside, and I'm not planning to. I'm going to stay in our nice warm studio. Very
nice coffee shop across the way. I bravely tried to go down there without my coat. It was a bit of a disaster. No. Coffee shop is shut, and I ended up coming back very cold.
There's a very good one in the station, so
yeah, again. No one told me that.
that was my fault. I sent you across the road.
Thanks for the heads up, guys. So this is the preview show for today's 8 matches that we've got. It's the last 16. We'll also reflect back on some of the moments from yesterday's matches. Let's start with Anahat Singh. She caught everyone's attention yesterday against Satomi Watanabe. She didn't win the match, but she got off to a fiery start, Nicole.
She did. She went up 2-love in 15 minutes, which kind of blew everyone away, including Satomi Watanabe. It was just a relentless attack, which we did expect from Anahat Singh. That's the way that she plays. It's the way that she backs herself. But she just comes out from winners from wherever on the court, doesn't she, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really unique ability that she has to hit out-and-out winners. You know, she doesn't sort of work the ball in at all. She just hits pure winners. There's not much deception even going on, although she's got good variety with those winners. But it's quite incredible. I think Watanabe didn't really know what hit her. She got off to a slow start, and before she got a chance to get her head around things, it was literally 15 minutes and she was 2-love down.
But she did, and she did bounce back eventually and win that match. I guess Satomi relieved at the end of it, as I think we'll see in the pictures, to get the victory and get the win and into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, you could see the relief on her face for several minutes afterwards, maybe even several hours. She went and she sat in the crowd for just a few minutes after, and there's this iconic picture. She's just sitting there kind of like that with her fiance and with Jasmine Hutton. I guess she couldn't really believe that she made that sort of comeback, because down 2-love in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note how she did that, and because it started to show the gaps that still exist in Singh's game. She got off to a slow start. She wasn't moving particularly well. She was just taken by surprise. But when she got her head around things and she started to put the ball in good areas and get the ball behind Singh, then you start to realize that she kind of needs those winners, because she doesn't yet have the physicality to kind of back things up. So she'll still shoot, even if the ball's in a sort of defensive area, she will still go for that shot. And then she started to get caught with the counter attack by Watanabe, with the counter drop. So there's still definitely a lot of work to do, but the ability to hit winners is something that is very rare and something I haven't really seen before.
So Anahat Singh, just 17 years of age, do we pop her into that pile of up-and-coming players, ones to watch out for the rest of this season, and maybe see her break into the top 20, top 10 at some stage?
I think she needs to develop more physically before you can maybe start talking about, reaching the heights of someone like Amina Orfi. Top 20 maybe, but there's a lot more work to do on her game than someone like Orfi, who is much more rounded. But yes, definitely one to watch, no mistake.
What elements of the game need improving there?
Physically, she needs to improve. She can't yet play those rallies where she has to defend, reset, and then look for another attack. She has to hit winners quite early on in rallies, which becomes harder and harder as your opponents get stronger.
And we started to see that as well, as Watanabe was looking to extend the rallies and those errors. She was still going for the same shots, but they weren't coming off when she was under a little bit more pressure, or when the rallies were extended.
Yeah, it was either errors or she was getting caught with the counter attack when
the shot selection was the same, though.
It was, yes.
And Nicole, you're into strength and conditioning. That's sort of part and parcel of what you do every single day. How would you tweak Anahat Singh's physicality, and what aspects of her body, her strength, her core would you be working on with her?
Well, some of it is natural, and she's just got to take some time to develop. As you said, she's 17 years old, so she's going to go through another growth spurt, and it's just going to take some time to build that strength base. But I think that for her, working with someone like Greg Gauthier, who is one of the best movers on tour, I think that's going to be tremendous for her, because she's going to be able to develop the squash-specific strength on the court of getting in and out of the front corners, like Vanessa said, being able to actually be able to cover those counter-attacks at the front of the court, which she was getting caught out by Watanabe there yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it'll happen over time. It has to happen at the right time as well with a sort of a young body. She's only 17, so it's important that that development doesn't happen too quickly. But, you know, it's hard work. She's got an ability that a lot of players will never have and you almost can't teach them.
Yeah.
So this is just a question of putting the hours in and strengthening her body.
Okay, great stuff. We're going to switch our attention to collegiate squash next. Another area that we're pretty excited about this week because the men's individual and women's individual championships are taking place. 120 players in New York City, but we're going to reflect back on some of the great college stars of the past that have played or are still playing on the PSA, Nicole.
Yeah, it's a huge testament to how you can actually go to university and you can spend 4 years, which is, you know, some would think quite a long time in some of the prime years of your developing part of your career, and, you know, go in and study and train at the same time and compete, but then come on to the Pro Tour afterwards. And obviously, I think the person who really kicked that off on the men's side was Todd Harrity. He graduated in 2013 from Princeton. I overlapped with him for a couple of years. He went on to the Pro Tour. And then Ali Farag, obviously everyone knows him. He actually played a little bit on the Pro Tour, and then he went to university. He transferred from university to go to Harvard, so spent 3 years at Harvard, and then came back onto the Pro Tour, and obviously achieved everything that he did.
So what are the benefits of coming to college in the US, and why do players from abroad like to do that? What's in it for them?
I mean, so much. First of all, the tremendous education that you get, especially at the Ivy League universities, or really any of the universities that have the squash programs. They have excellent educational facilities for everyone, a lot of great programs, and an amazing alumni network as well. So just here in New York City, there's the university clubs that are next door. And you can, I mean, just everyone is here out supporting, as you always see. There's Amanda Sobey. So this is probably one of the best statistics, actually. Amanda Sobey, she won the individual intercollegiate championship 4 times. So all 4 years that she was at university, she's the only person outside of Gail Ramsey, who is the current Princeton coach, actually, and she did that many years before. So, and also Amanda went undefeated all 4 years. So she only lost 2 singular games the entire time that she was at Harvard and at university, and those were to Kanzi El Defraoui, but she never lost a match. Not a single individual match.
Incredible.
And then she went up to world number 3 after she graduated.
Vanessa, some big standout names there as well from those women's players that have all studied here in the US at those colleges that are in the brackets on the right.
Yeah, lots of international flags there. I think it's important to note that you know, the colleges are able to nurture these players that are mostly have been top juniors. A lot of people expect them then to immediately go on the pro circuit, and those college years, they're not damaging to their pro career in a way that they probably would have been when I was playing, because there's so much depth now within the college system that there's lots of competition. So you said amazing facilities, top coaches that they work with. So in many ways it actually probably helps them, and I think that delay to starting on the Pro Tour can actually be a benefit. You know, they're coming onto tour at 22 rather than at sort of 17, 18, sometimes the Egyptian players that are even younger than that.
And with an education, not just banking all on a professional career in sport.
Yeah, I mean, there's a maturity so they're ready for the stresses of life on tour, but also, as you said, it gives them something, it gives them options when they end their career. They've got a degree in hand. They don't have to sort of get to 35 like I did and think, what on earth am I going to do with my life now?
We've got 2 players there on court. We saw Siva Sangari Subramaniam and Marina Stefanoni. She's down there. They're both in this system that we're talking about.
Yeah, Siva Subramaniam, she won the intercollegiates herself. She went to Cornell, and then Marina, she went to Harvard. And speaking of Harvard, they have been extremely dominant when it comes to the team championships. You can see there's 9 players, this is co-ed, from both the men and the women in recent years who have graduated from Harvard and then went on to the top 50 in the PSA Squash Tour. So they've obviously recruited very, very well. Obviously Ali Farag, Marina Stefanoni, Sabrina Sobey, Gina Kennedy, I can go on and on. The list is pretty much endless there, and that's why they've been so dominant as a team. And obviously they've shown that they're able to balance the academics and the athletics and actually improve the squash.
Well, important to mention Mike Way as well, who's been the coach there for a long time. You know, and someone like Ali Farag, he still has a strong connection with Mike Way, someone he worked with when he was at college, and then he retained that relationship throughout his career. So I'm sure he would argue that his college years absolutely benefited his pro career, not just giving him the fun time of 4 years at college and a degree, but also that it really helped him when he did start on tour.
3 American women in action today on our 8 matches, including that lady there. And so the second best team at the moment, the US behind Egypt. Let's see them receiving their silver medals there at the World Teams event in 2024 in December in Hong Kong. You were there, Nicole?
I was, yeah. They have a deep team. They have a very strong team. Their top 3, they're Olivia Weaver and Amanda Sobey, and then Marina Stefanoni. I mean, they're pretty solid. If you've got 2 players in the top 10, you're doing pretty well, right?
Yes.
So obviously Malaysia is just a little bit underneath that. They only have Subramanian, who's in the top 10, and then obviously Egypt, 1, 2, and 3 pretty much in the world. It's going to be tough to compete with, but it does show the strength that they're bringing in. Obviously, they made it to the finals as well in 2022 in Cairo. So they've been coming up for a good few years now, the American women.
Where did the other threats come for Egypt, who look miles ahead as far as the team event goes?
They are, well, I think the counter argument to that is that in some ways you could view the women at the top of the US team now as a little bit of an anomaly. If you look down the rankings, sort of top 100, there's only outside of that top 4, there's only one other player in the top 100. If you look at Egypt, they've got, I think, 31 players inside the top 100. So, of course, they're going to have top players. And when those top players retire, they've got so many players waiting in the wings to fill those shoes. The US doesn't have that. They've got a great junior system. They've got a great college system. But a lot of those players aren't going onto the pro circuit. So there's a massive drop-off.
Which countries do?
Well, England's got 12 players in the top 100. Malaysia's got 8, I think, in the top 100.
France,
so they've got backup.
A few in there as well.
Yeah. So actually, the fact that the US women's team is second in the world, it's kind of an anomaly, really. They shouldn't be if you look at sort of what they've got going down the rankings.
What does that tell us,
I mean, I do hope, though, that there's going to be some more women that come out of this, and having watched the success that Olivia Weaver, Amanda Sobey, and the rest have had after coming out of the college system and are encouraged to go pro. I mean, you've got Caroline Fouts, she's actually reached the 2nd round of the TOC here a couple of years ago as a wild card. She's a very strong player. She goes and she competes at the Pan Am Games. Actually, she was there at the World Team Championships in Hong Kong in 2024. And then you actually got Marina's little sister, Lucy Stefanoni. She's very good as well. So you do have some more that are they're just focused more on their college career right now, but I think that they'll be jumping onto the pro tour.
I guess another way you can galvanize and inspire is something like LA 2028. If people see squash for the first time, they might be encouraged to pick up a racket and give it a go themselves.
Certainly, I do think that it adds a lot more to it, for sure. I mean, here it's very traditional, I would say, in the US to go to college and then go to work. Becoming a professional athlete, if the finances are not a huge incentive, which in squash right now, it's not a huge incentive if you're not at the very top of the game, they can go and they can make money right away going into banking or any of the many industries that you were kind of pushed into when you go to college here in the US.
These players are coming out of Ivy League colleges.
That's an issue, though, isn't it? We're going to lose some of that talent, and they're just going to, take the safer route, if you like, the more sensible route.
Yeah, and that's what happened. That's what's happening, and that's why they don't have the depth of players going down the rankings. So that drop-off rate is huge, and that's always going to be a problem, I think. And I think they've been extremely lucky in some ways that the players that have decided to go pro all happen to be kind of top 20 or close to top 20.
Now, you've been very busy out and about today, haven't you, chatting with one of those 3 American players that is in action later today. Let's see who you've been speaking to.
Marina, thanks for joining us. You came through the college system, you played at Harvard. How do you feel that prepared you for your journey on the pro tour?
I think college was a big step up from juniors, so I had sort of a transition period of those 4 years. I was able to work on technique also a lot during my COVID year because we weren't competing. So I sort of changed my backhand and figured out some things that I might not have had the time for if I had just gone straight pro. It was just a step up and a good stepping stone to the pros.
Do you feel like you had a lot more competition there as well, having a roster of 15 girls to play with?
Yeah, actually we had a couple of really good girls at the top, so it was good to train with them and play practice matches and challenge matches. So notably there was Hana Moataz at the time and Amina Yusri, 2 top Egyptian girls. So I was really lucky to be able to train with them for a couple of years before they left. And then Saran Nagim came, who was also on tour, and my sister, which is fun.
And then any other gaps you feel like it filled in with your training or with your mentality? Anything you were maybe lacking in the juniors?
We did some mental work with our coach, Mike Way. He's big on scripting and visualizing, things like that. So that was something new that I had not done in juniors. But I take some of that into the pros. So yeah, I think maybe that.
And then tonight you're playing Olivia Weaver. You guys just played last week in Cleveland. You guys are teammates, you're training partners. What's it like playing against such a good teammate?
Yeah, we're actually rooming at this tournament, so we were joking around last night, sleep with one eye open. But yeah, we played last week. She's obviously an incredible player. She didn't drop a game at that Cleveland Silver, so I'm always up for competing though, no matter who it is. So I'm just excited to get out there, and I haven't played on this glass court in 8 years when I had the wild card when I was 15, I think. So I'm just excited to be back and play some good squash.
And speaking of back when you were 15, that was just 2 years after you won your very first under-19 national junior championship. You started to win that when you were just 13 years old. Do you feel any sort of pressure with that sort of repertoire having come into the pros?
Not really, honestly. I think people still mention, oh, she was a super good junior, she won a bunch of things, she was maybe the best junior in the US, but pros is so different, it's a whole different game, so there's no point in comparing the juniors to the pros, but I know that I did really well when I was younger, and I'm just hoping to do really well when I'm older. Not that old yet, but...
You still got time.
Thanks to Nicole and Marina for chatting with us earlier today. At 7:30 for that match between Marina Stefanoni and Olivia Weaver. Also Amanda Sobey in action tonight for Team USA. We were talking about the state of US squash in the women's game. We've got Joey Barrington in the studio with us as well now. I mean, they're doing pretty well, aren't they, American women? You've seen the sort of rise and hopefully not the fall of that American trajectory.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of juniors that are coming through that are very strong on that scene in the under-17s, under-19s to try and fill that void. But it's fascinating hearing you guys talking obviously about the collegiate situation here that's massive.
What's your take on that? You must have had a few thoughts.
I mean, I went to university, but I started playing squash at university. That was in Birmingham. I didn't come over here, and it was always back in England. It was like if you went to university, you were never going to be a pro. It's like you had to go at 16 or 18.
Would you have liked to come to university here if the opportunity had been given to you? Or?
I probably, yeah, I'd have probably had quite a good time here for various reasons, but I enjoyed being at Birmingham, and it was good. And that was I didn't set out to play squash. It happened at Birmingham because the way things aligned for me. So if I hadn't gone to Birmingham, I don't think I'd have been a professional squash player, weirdly. So, that was a good situation for me.
College obviously not the only way into squash. The mayor of New York has also been sort of chipping in this week and released this statement earlier today, just sort of reminding us of all the amazing projects that are going on here. I'm just going to pull out a few for you there in the Bronx and then also in Harlem. You can see the street squash, city squash. They're big here as well. So it's not just the high end of the sport. We're also going, to the roots and to the core of where we can have a bit of an influence.
Yeah, there's a lot of Squash and Education Alliance programs that have popped up all around the country now. So I think the first one was actually street squash here in Harlem. So it gets a lot of support. It's it was the first one to take the stand and to promote, and they get so much support. I mean, New York is such a hub for squash, and so I think it was a great place for the first SEA program to take place. But like you said, city squash as well, and then now they're even expanding further up the coast, which is great because we do need a lot more inclusive opportunities for squash. Where I come from in Canada, you can find squash courts at your local leisure center or your gym, but here in the US it's really not that common to find it outside of country clubs or outside of city clubs.
Which makes them less accessible for people.
A lot less accessible, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe have the talent but don't have the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd love to see one of these programs actually send off a player onto the PSA Squash Tour, male or female, to actually come on and be a pro player. I think that would be the real, first stance, because they go into obviously education, which is fantastic, but to actually have one that's nurtured up to become a professional and break that mold, I think that would be really revolutionary. I'd like to see that because these programs have been going for quite a long time over here now.
And you're involved with this sort of thing back home in England, with England squash. So what sort of things happening back home in the UK?
Well, I mean, you've got the PSA side of things based in England, and they're doing a fantastic job with the grassroots side. I mean, England squash have got a lot of work to do on that side, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. There needs to be an organised strategy to come into play, and I'm a big fan of the outdoor courts and just the facility for people to be able to play a version of squash. It doesn't have to be squash in its own right, just as long as you've got even 3 walls, but you're playing the rebound sport. We should be selling ourselves as a rebound sport, and if kids and wanting to gravitate to squash clubs, then great, but I'd love to just see them in parks playing a version of squash and just hitting balls and utilizing what we have.
Yeah, just something to make it more accessible. Like you said, a version of it, even if it's just pretty much hitting a ball against a wall.
Well, it's rebound. We're a rebound sport.
Using your hands as well.
That's the advantage that we
Yeah,
have compared to other racket sports, is we are the only rebound sport. You know, when you want to play tennis on your own, you have to hit it against the wall. Table tennis, you put the table up, you're hitting it. That's the essence of squash, so we need to use that and market it.
I did some of that during COVID. I went and found a wall, and I did some volleys against a wall. I mean, only for a couple of days, because
you were there for a couple of days.
Yes. Yeah, I was so, and then I got invigorated, and then I just decided that was it. I've perfected my volley now.
It's quite relaxing, isn't it? It's quite cathartic, I imagine, just sort of hitting the ball. I know lots of players like to do their solo training and just get in there and hit.
It is another unique aspect of the sport, is you can train by yourself, right? You can do solo, as your dad invented ghosting.
You invented everything.
Right? So, you know, there's a lot of things which make it unique and great, but we just need to make it more accessible and just more visible. Whenever I go, I go to the grocery store all the time here with my rackets in my bag, and people say, oh, is that tennis? And I say, no, it's squash. And they say, what's squash? And I say something like racquetball. And then they know what that is. But we need to make it more accessible, just more visible. So whether that's, you know, getting it out on social media, or if it's getting it obviously out on broadcasters, and hopefully LA 2028 helps with that. People outside of the Northeast and, you know, outside of certain areas here need to learn what the sport is.
Yeah, we're going off to Chicago after this, and I promised Arnie Drat that I'm going to go on court with Lee Beachell. He doesn't know it yet, but we're going to go onto the outdoor court, make sure it's obviously snowing like this.
Lots of squash.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's going to be a skating rink.
I'll be all right.
I'm
I'm worried about Lee Beachell's movement. He'll end up hurting himself. I'll be fine.
You've been there. You've helped sort of launch that court, the one that's in Chicago, the outdoor court.
Well,
tell us a bit about that court and how it differs.
Because I've got a big passion for the outdoor courts, as you're hearing now. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done out there. They had to put a few extra support systems because it is so windy out there, but it is such a wicked setting, and it's being utilised really, really well. So I'm looking forward to regrouping and seeing how busy it is there. But you know, we need to see more of these things outside of squash clubs, really.
Okay, thanks very much for a little chat on that. We're going to talk more now about Mohamed El Shorbagy and all the records that he's broken. He's in action here, and he's safely through to the next round with victory the other night, making him the most successful player on tour as far as tournament wins go and professional wins on the PSA Squash Tour.
Yeah, to give you perspective, so back in 2008, the World Championships, he took out Thierry Lincu, who was seeded 6th at that time, a former world #1 in 5 games. And then in 2009, he took out Nick Matthew at Canary Wharf. That's when he was 17 in 2008 and then 18 in 2009. Some of the best players in the world beating them in 5 games, and then you see him even last year against Ali Farag here, losing in 5 to the eventual winner. He's 35 years of age, so that's why you've got those amazing credentials and those statistics, you know, from that age, mid-teens, all the way through to now. I mean, it's staggering what he's been able to do with his career, with his body and with his mind, more importantly.
Yeah, that longevity is amazing. Nicole, what of those statistics pops out for you in such an illustrious career?
He's just creating new records to break, basically. You know, I think
what's left?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool that he's broken Greg Gautier's record, who's his coach now. They were fierce competitors. They had a couple interesting battles on this court right here, didn't
interesting.
they?
I mean, it was absolutely hated each other.
That's amazing. That they
hated is a bit strong, but they really did have some ding-dongs, and it was great entertainment. And then when they did match up for coaching, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was really, really nice to see.
And where to next for Mohamed? We're hoping that he can elongate that career. Lots of people talking about won't he retire at the end of this season? What's your general vibe having seen him today and this week?
I mean, you keep asking me that. You literally ask me that every day if he's retiring this season.
We've got new viewers all the time,
every day you're asking me that.
Yeah.
But I mean, from an England point of view, it's really, really important for him to keep trying to play as long as he wants to. You've seen the effect with Jonah Bryant and Jasmine Hudson, who's in the quarterfinals. Mohamed's in the quarterfinals. You know, he's been very important to try and kind of bring those players along and be a bit of an inspiration to get to the top level for squash in England. But in terms of everyone watching, I'm sure the viewing figures, no matter who he plays on SQUASHTV, there's always people that are going to watch, you know, Mohamed El Shorbagy, because he's one of the greatest that's ever played the game. And in the modern era, he's played through all these different generations. Going back to the entirety of his career, he was playing with all those great players, and he's gone through all the way now to even playing against Assalan Zakaria and Jonah Bryant. So I mean, it's a joke, really. I mean, he's as old as Gandalf, isn't he?
Do you think he could be the next England national coach with all that experience?
Goodness me, that's a.
I'm not putting a timeline on it. I'm just saying, at some point, do you think he'd be a good fit for that?
I haven't really talked to him about the coaching side. I don't know what I think he'll have a bit of time off and maybe look at the coaching side. I don't know what he'll do. He might end up doing a bit like what Greg's got and players from all over internationally doing that side, having the international spread. I don't think Mohammed will go down the route of being kind of with a governing body and being kind of restricted to things. I think he'll want to kind of move around and do things and be flexible.
Okay, you mentioned in there Mustafa Asal and Mohammed Zakaria. They were in action yesterday. Now, was this a good advertisement for the sport? There are elements of the game that were good, but there are also those predictable elements, if you like, that were not necessarily a good advertisement for the sport.
I mean, you know, I was commentating on this, and I know we've been having banter about it. I kind of enjoyed the first game, and I know that
47 minutes.
I'm a minority. Yeah. I was fascinated by the backhand wall, but if you're trying to sell the sport outside of the squash diehards, then it's a very restrictive situation. There were around 19 decisions in that first game, 35 in total for the match, which isn't monumental considering how long that first game was. But I mean, for me, you know, the handshake, the slap, I mean, that you need to man up with that. I'm not a fan of that situation at the end there.
It's a bit childish, is it not, just to shake your opponent's hand?
Shake his hand, and if you're angry with him, try and crush his hand or her hand. You know, I mean, just shake it really hard, look him in the eye.
Yeah,
so he'll get you next time.
The dead fish handshake really bugs me. I've had it done to me a few times. I actually go chase the person and I make sure
Who's done it to you in the past?
I'm not going to name names.
Of course
you won't know them.
We'll just find it.
I thought you were going to say we'll just find them after the fact.
Absolutely. And then do the
Send them a hefty fine. No, but I think that's just, it's not great behavior. There were a few other things where it looked like Zakaria was acting up during the match, and I feel like he could probably cut some of that stuff out, because it's not going to do him any favors with the crowd or with the refs, and I think he just needs to focus on his own game.
It's pulling attention towards those matchups, though, isn't it? And there are eyes on that match. It was the busiest match here internally, I'm sure, probably watching back home. Everyone was fixated on the match. They almost, it was a bit sort of nervy to watch. You're like expecting something to happen.
I think when them playing, you know, so restricted down that back and wall, we were all alert to wait to see if something kind of unique or bad was going to happen. We were like that for 47 minutes of the first game. I was literally cross-eyed, but you know, you've got to get the balance between the squash diehards enjoying that kind of strategy and what's going on, and also selling the. We want to get new viewers. So, you know, you had very contrasting matches with Kareem Abdul-Gawad and Gregoire Marsh, which was all four corners. It was played at a very high tempo, but in a really, really good manner. And also Baptiste Massotti when he was taking on Ibrahim. So
they were very entertaining.
Very entertaining. Yeah. 4 games for the last one, 5 games for the other one, and it was they got the money's worth. And you could translate that to a non-squash viewership, that they could see that and get a nice buzz from that.
Obviously, we want to see the best coming out of world number 1 and Zakaria, the current world junior champion as well. We want to be, you know, engaged in that, and for the right reasons, not for, you know, is something going to kick off here type thing. And social media, okay, not that it matters, but people's opinion on social media, not necessarily very positive about that match between those rising Egyptian stars.
I mean, I think it's just the behavior and it's the intent. I think you can tell when a player is trying to do something on purpose or when they're acting up a little bit. I mean, we see it in football, don't we, or soccer, as they say over here. You know, when a player goes down and they act like they've been extremely hurt on their toe when they've been hit in the back or something. You know, I'm not saying that exactly happened last night, but there's a bit of showmanship to it. There's a bit of acting, and I don't personally enjoy that about the men's side of football. It only happens in the men's, not the women's, I will say. And so, yeah, I don't think we want to bring that onto the squash court. I think that's sometimes what people aren't going to be liking.
I just wanted to make the point about the actual squash in that match. You know, it was very accurate. They were very accurate. So it wasn't like it was all around the middle and it was an absolute. There was a lot of decisions, yes, in the first game, but it was a very accurate, kind of high quality game in terms of technique and what they were doing. That's what I thought.
Okay. Thanks very much for your input as always, and thank you very much for joining us for this very elongated preview show of day 4. Round 2, we're going to switch over now to SQUASH.TV for all the live action. 8 matches to bring you here today from New York City. We'll see you over there very shortly.